Marwa Gad, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Likewise, I am super excited to dive into our topic conversation. I feel like it's going to be an impactful one, an exciting one. But before we do get into that, can you give the listeners a bit of context about who you are and what it is that you do?
Of course. So my name is Marwa Gad. I'm Egyptian American. I'm a woman over 40. I have recently became a certified life coach as of 2023. And I have a lot of passion for helping others. Also, I work in the fashion industry full-time, transitioning to become a certified life coach full-time.
Amazing. So you started doing life coaching from the age of over 40, and that is an interesting transition at this stage of your life. I feel like a lot of people, when they get to this stage of their career, maybe they've got 15, 16, 17 years in the industry that they're in, they kind of want to stay there, right? They don't want to take that jump because they're like, well, I'm good at what I do. It probably pays well at this stage because I've been in the industry so long, and now I have to go from scratch. What has led you to take kind of this leap of faith into life coaching?
See, you brought up the finances, which holds a lot of people back from pursuing a lot of dreams, because you're always thinking about like, okay, I make good money here, and it's a very valid point. However, a passion, like it was always like that for me. Passion is so important for me. So when I do things, I love to do them with passion. And the fashion industry, as much as it brought me a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, I learned so much from this world, like from the corporate world. I work with different companies, big and small, and I work with overseas factories. This industry is not the most conscious industry about the environment and the world overall. And I want to take a path that's more conscious, more aware, more intentional. And one day I got an email from Jay Shetty. I don't know if I can mention, but Jay Shetty Certification School. And they were like, do you have empathy? And I am very well known with my empathy level, but like amongst my friends, I just have like a extreme empathy level. It's great, and it's a good thing to have when it's put in the right place. So I thought like, okay, why not? I want to be like, why not? I love guiding people. I love uplifting people. It's just in me. So I was like, you know what? I will study while I'm working. And then that was a little bit challenging. So I actually decided to leave my job, dedicate my time I dedicated 5 months for the program. I got the certificate, and then I went back to the fashion industry, and I'm doing both right now. So I'm balancing between both until hopefully one day, to the next step. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And obviously now your focus is on helping women who are over 40, which is exactly the same position that you're in.
Yeah.
So what specific things are you going through that you want to help women with? I feel that is fortunately and maybe unfortunately, in a way it's underserved, but in a way that it does have a lot of attention. I think that there's maybe more attention when it comes to like the perimenopause, menopause cycle as well. But the beautiful thing is there's more spotlight in that area right now, but it's still...
more researches too.
For sure.
So
I'd say it's slightly still underserved. So what was your reasons for going into that industry specific, or that age group, I should say, and demographic?
Sure. So I'll tell you, my main focus actually, so when you become a certified life and success coach, you have to choose your niche or your audience or the people that you want to really support and help. And I felt like where I can do very well and where I can give the most is mindset coaching. Mindset coaching, and we're talking about everything in life is mindset. You're from happiness to success to joy, everything is a mindset. So, and it's a choice. Of course, it's a choice you make with so many other aspects in your life. So there has to be changes to get to that mindset. So, and my focus becomes millennials and Gen Z. So growth mindset for millennials and Gen Z, I feel like it's struggle. Millennials specifically, they're struggling. I am a millennial, and we haven't had any awareness growing up, any discussion about mental health and wellness and so many things that we're only hearing in the last 10, 20 years. So the 20 years prior to that, where you're the most crucial years of your life, you haven't heard any of that. And when you hear of that, especially when you come from a culture like Egypt or the Middle East or any actually non-Western culture, it would, mental health was a taboo conversation. It's a taboo discussion. So, and I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of women in my life, and I'm so proud of like all the women in my life, from housewives to successful women to like, you know, there's a wide range of women, and I see that they have the same exact struggle, is that they can't take care of themselves because they don't have time. They don't dedicate time for themselves. So I thought, simply for here, this is a perfect opportunity that I can come out and say, okay, there are ways. Don't neglect yourself if you're over 40. There are so many stresses, and there's like key points that you can, you know, start working on. And, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, a person or 2 or 10 can hear me today, and maybe it would resonate.
And I feel that demographic of the women who are mothers and they're over the age of 30 and 40, like, they're one of the most selfless demographics they are. They give kind of everything away, and they leave not a lot for themselves because of the...
They were taught that way too.
Yeah, they were taught that way. They were brought out that way. They have kind of the level of, I need to take care of this house, I need to take care of my kids and everything along those lines. So with something that's kind of, like you said, so deeply embedded into us, how can we start stepping away from that without feeling selfish, without feeling like we're neglecting our duties, without feeling like we're doing what quote unquote women and mothers should do?
Yes, I appreciate a man actually speaking, like, I appreciate you actually speaking like that passionately, because some women don't even speak about themselves passionately. So it needs to start there. A woman has to understand that her health, her growth will help everybody around her. But if she loses that, nobody else can rely on her. So a woman is nurturing, especially a mom, right? And is nurturing. Even if you're not a mom, at this age, you either have an aging parent or you have children who are like transitioning out of the house. Like you might be having an empty nest. I have a 21-year-old. I was having the hardest transition to understand, from being a child to being a teenager to being an adult. So that transition, not a lot of people also talk about. It's painful for a mom, which is something that, if you're not a mom, you probably won't be able to relate to it, which is understandable. But I think a woman at this age, you have something in your life. You either have a career to take care of that's either soaring, or you have children. Like, there is a lot of responsibilities, and that causes a lot of stresses. And if you don't pause and reassess at this age specifically and make a decision on how you want to live the next 40, then it's going to be harder. It's just going to get harder, because responsibilities honestly don't shrink. They just grow, especially if you have a family, finances, a lot of things, a lot of aspects can cause this stress. And I'm here to just tell women it's okay to be selfish. It's not selfishness, honestly. I mean, well, my therapist tells me it's okay to be selfish. So I took her word. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. And because you're doing this to serve yourself first, and then to help yourself first, and then help others. So it's a much broader picture. Again, it goes back to my mindset. If you have that mindset, everything will start shifting and changing, and you'll see things in a different perspective.
100%. I think selfish has just got a bad connotation, because it's really context dependent, right? Because it's like, if you're being selfish to not serve others, then obviously it's going to be not something that's maybe going to go down well. You might feel a sense of guilt. You might not feel so great about it. But if it's literally
guilt. I love that you brought this. The word guilt is very attached to women. I'm not sure why. We were wired with that, very much so.
Yeah, but like I said, if it's in the sense of doing it for yourself to therefore allow yourself to then go back to what you're doing in the best possible way, then 100%, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that by any means whatsoever. And yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that a lot of women feel like bad about being selfish and they need to be told that that word is changed around. Like there's a lot of guilt there as well. So how did you navigate that? Because obviously you've done this transition, you've taken care of yourself more, I assume physically, emotionally, spiritually, and all those different other types of ways of doing it. How did you step away from the guilt and step into the more selfish vibe?
I will be extremely, extremely honest with you. I wish I have like that magic word, but I did it anyway. Like I was going through emotional turbulence and I honestly didn't know where it was coming from. And I try to take care of my mental health and I tried, but then I had that emotional turbulence which happens to everybody, to the best of us. And it was a decision. I'm like, am I going to be feeling like this for how long? Today, tomorrow, and then time flies. And then you're like, I have to do something. So there was no motivation, I promise you. Like, if you're waiting for something to motivate you, it might come. Yay, good for you. It might not come. You might not have it in you to begin with. So how do you get out that? Because like right now you're stuck. So how do you get off that stuckness? Do it anyway. It sounds stupid, but do it anyway. I had days where I was like on my, I have a bike, not a Peloton, but like a station bike. And I had moments where I was like crying and I got on the bike while I was crying and I'm biking. I'm gonna bike while I'm crying. And it didn't make me feel good that day. It didn't make me feel good the next day, but eventually I stopped crying. I felt better. My mood changed. So I was like, okay, so that's working. Do I need to be like, I don't feel like working out today? And that was honestly my previous 40, which I don't want to go back to. I don't feel like it no, it's become like a medicine at this point. So I had to self-educate, honestly. I self-educated I read books, I listened to podcasts, and every piece of information doesn't go, like I try to apply it, and you can apply everything, but you can take small steps. And that's when also life coaching comes. And that's when, if you have the opportunity to have support, do it. Like I would tell all my friends, if you have to have a support system, whether it's mental health professional, if you need it, whether it's a friend that you talk to, whether it's someone that can give you that peace and space to speak and to express yourself and to be whatever creature at that moment you are, whether you're emotional, women have a lot of hormones that they have to balance also throughout the month. And it's not even, like I read a book recently, it's not even one cycle apparently. So the more researches that they did, that we have four phases within the cycle. So every phase comes with different hormone level, comes with different mood, so you have to understand your body. So the first thing I would say, I started listening to my body. I started healing. I'm like, oh my God, why am I anxious? Then you start connecting the dots. Oh, I might be in a certain area in my cycle this month. So let me take it easy on myself. When some days a woman can be like, oh my God, unstoppable, like physically unstoppable. Those are the days where you really need to, you know what, put on your heels and do whatever you want. And you can do whatever you want. But women don't. Women think they can do everything every day. And it's not true. And then it takes a toll. And then that very, very important part of the house starts collapsing physically. And nobody gains anything else. Especially now women work, outside and inside. So we're in a different time. And if we don't listen to our body, and if we don't, we're not mindful of what we go through, we're adding more to ourselves, more than outside. We're adding we're adding more to ourselves than what we can handle, honestly.
Yeah, that self-awareness piece is so important. And I think once you step into genuinely what you can do, and you understand, I should say, like the cyclical nature of your energy, what you feel good at. Like you said, on those days where you can put on your heels, you put your foot 100% on the gas pedal, and then the others where you need that kind of push and pull and that balance. I think it's massive, but I don't think a lot of people start to understand that because they lack the self-awareness, and then they lack the courage to then take that step. And you've mentioned therapy a couple of times as well, which I'm sure obviously helped you a lot with the self-awareness spice as well. So how did you get on in terms of your therapy? Was that a big step in terms of allowing you to tap into what you truly wanted? Like you said, the therapist told you that selfish is not a bad word whatsoever.
Yeah, she allows me to do things. She's like, being you. And sometimes, honestly, it's all we need to hear. Because not all women get to hear this word, just be you. Just be you. A lot of women get put into like certain boxes, and it's expected to perform certain way, to act certain way, to speak certain way. And for millennials specifically. So Gen Z, I feel like they're breaking away from this, and I love it. I love it for them. But hopefully they don't take it too extreme. So like we just need to balance. Like, we're created that way. It's not like it's science. There's nothing. Like we should understand the human body or the woman's body at this point. And if we have Google, it's 2024. There's no excuse for anybody. I understand if we're talking about very unfortunate areas of the world where they can have accessibility to that is very understandable. And I'm definitely not talking about that part of the world. I'm talking about if you are educated enough, if you can Google, if you have the time to spend on Facebook or Instagram and scroll, you can follow good content. You can listen to good podcasts. Use that time. You can fool around and goof around and do that, but also what do you do? Like, I would want every woman at the end of every night to ask herself, what did I do for myself today? Because she usually thinks, oh, I did this for my kid. I did this for my mom. I did this for my dad. I did this for my husband, my brother, sister. That's how a woman's brain functions. Like, what did I do for others? But then what did you do to yourself today? I think that question would start at least making you think that, oh, you are valuable too. You need support too. You need the help too. So I think, so for me, going back to your question, therapy. I have been very vocal about being in therapy. I've been in therapy for 6 years. And amongst my friends, I make it. Amongst anybody, like any place I go to, I make it vocal that I see a therapist. I mean, if the situation obviously allows to speak about it. I think it's a self-love when you start taking care of your own mental health. I love myself and I love being a good mom. So in order to be a good mom, I have to be mentally stable and I have to be mentally well. Because you're raising other people, this energy transfers whether you like it or not. So why don't we try to have better energy around our kids? So it all ties together. So if you think of yourself, you're thinking of your family. If you're thinking of your family, you should think of yourself. But again, women tend to neglect the self part because they feel that guilt when they start thinking about themselves. But therapy and life coaching now, which is financially more affordable than therapy, but obviously they serve different areas. A therapist is for your emotion. Also can diagnose you with like any mental or emotional distress, whatever. But a life coach cannot do that, cannot diagnose you. However, they can guide you to the future. They can work with you on a plan. They can work with you, raising your awareness, which also something that you mentioned, and it's so crucial that a lot of people don't have that awareness. Not because we're missing the tools. We have all the tools. We have Google, we have social media. There's nothing. We're really not missing anything to get information, right?
No.
20 years ago, when I tell my kids, I'm like, if I want to know something about another country, like, not 20, because internet, like, it started in the 90s. Like, let's say growing up when I was 10, 12, if I wanted to learn about anything, it had to be from, like, an encyclopedia or the news or, that's it. And we had the excuse of, like, we really didn't have the tools. We didn't have information. We didn't have knowledge, nothing. But now, we can't use that excuse anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have it. You have it now. Use it now. That's a mindset also. Like, I feel like that's a mindset. I didn't wake up like this morning. It's a practice. It's trying to be intentional with my actions every day. Trying to look inwards more. What is it that I want to fix about me? Instead of like, let's fix the world. And let me fix me first. And then once I become that good part of society, things will flow. Things will happen around you, whether you choose or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that a lot of people look out and talk about fixing the world, but they haven't even started to fix themselves yet. So I couldn't agree more with you. And that is the best place to start, because then you're going to impact you, you're going to impact those around you, then you're going to have a wider impact there as well. And I want to come back to that therapy piece. You've been very vocal about it, but there still seems to be a lot of stigma and maybe a little bit of judgment, a little bit of a sense of, well, if I talk about myself for an hour, it's super indulgent, right? Both from a therapy or a life coaching perspective. How are you able to tap into that, and how are you showing people the way, in the sense of like, there doesn't need to be a stigma attached. There's nothing wrong with kind of indulging in your emotions, even if you want to use that word. I wouldn't exactly use it, because you're just kind of working yourself out. I feel like time invested in yourself to understand yourself more is never going to be like disadvantageous. But I know a lot of people have a lot of struggles and challenges around that. What are other people going to think? Are people going to think I'm a bad mother or a bad woman because I have to be in therapy and I'm not mentally stable? So how did you go about that?
I think it's getting better now. For me, I think I have a little bit of I don't care personality. And it's something that is just from my upbringing. My dad told me to be confident and to not be scared and be me. So it goes back to really, really deeper roots. So if you have that foundation, you can, you can do whatever you want. If you don't have that foundation, you don't have that mindset, which is most women don't. They never get the support growing up saying like, be you and speak up. Nobody, like most women don't get that. But, at some point, and again, this is why over 40 is very transitional. And at some point, and I think at that point also in my life, when I passed 40, well, the therapy was like related to like relationship issues and stuff like that. And this is how it started. But then it turned into like, no, I want to know more about me. I want to know more about what makes me do the things that I do, what makes me get angry at something that maybe it wasn't worth it, stuff like that. Working really through my own internal challenges that might come out and might not come out. Like, not everybody sees, what's in there. But what's in there. Like, I would tell a woman, what you have inside you. And if you like support, can I mention, like, there's a study, I don't know, I read about it last year. There's a study, Harvard study, that longest study. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's 84 years long, and they study like the human lifespan and what makes a person or happier or a better life quality. The conclusion of that study is the quality of relationships you have in your life. And you will never establish a good quality of relationships around you if you haven't established a good relationship with yourself. So if you don't think you're worth the time to take care of yourself, you have to fix that. It has to start there. So am I worthy? No, I need that time. I am worthy to take care of myself. Again, research is so easy. Not research, like searching or about any topic that comes to mind. Google it, YouTube it, watch it, listen until actually it starts clicking. Nothing comes from the first time. You can hear a conversation. You might hear one word of it, and then you're like, oh, I remember that. And then you start digging more. So be curious about yourself, I would say. Be curious so much about yourself. Be curious about how your body reacts to things, because we should listen to that. Listen to your body. Listen to your body when your heartbeats start like racing because you're anxious because something is happening around you that's bothering you. So understand that. Once you start understanding and then opening up a little bit, that gate that's been closed for years, nobody told you there's a gate. You have it. You just need to use it. You need to open it, and you need to look for the next 40. How do you want the next 40 to be? Do you want them to be better than the last 40? Do you want them to be the same? I think we all aim for better. Just the human nature. Like, we all want to be better, but we don't know the way. I hope this podcast finds someone who, and that's why I think that's why we're both doing this.
Yeah.
Because we know people want to improve. People by nature want to be good. I believe that truly. But if they don't have the guidance and they don't have and there are so many things now. There's so many podcasts. Oh my God, I appreciate all this. I don't want to call it woke myth because my son would not like this, but like I like this awareness that we're having now. That yes, oh my God, we need more. If anything, we need more, and then we need to balance it. Understanding it. Once you understand it, then balance it in your life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was just speaking to someone about relationship dynamics and masculine and feminine energy. And we were discussing the idea that right now there seems to be a bit of an overcorrection going on. And there might be a bit of an overcorrection coming on when it comes to our awareness, our wokeness, quote unquote. Exactly. So
it's exhausting.
A lot of that's happening in a very aggressive way, but a way that is positive in some senses, as long as you don't go to the extreme ends of the spectrum, right? But the challenge is like if everyone has been not super aware and a lot of things have been silenced, then usually an overcorrection comes after.
What I would advise if you don't know if you're getting to the extreme or not, you'll know by your body how your body reacts. Your body reacts. It's so fascinating how when I started feeling my body, like you get tense. You don't know because this is how your body reacts. But when you start actually paying attention, you're like, oh, why did I get so tense? Why is my shoulder, like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Something is happening that's making you uncomfortable. You need to dig a little bit more into it. I think this is a little bit like more complicated. But if you want to simplify, you'll feel a knot in your stomach. How's that? Like you'll feel a knot in your stomach. Remove yourself from a situation that would make you stressful. I would say that to a woman. Remove yourself from situations that make you have this fight or flight response. Simply, calmly remove yourself from situations like this because the fight or flight, the constant fight or flight causes a lot of fluctuating in hormones, up, down, and that causes quick aging, that causes quicker perimenopause or menopause. Actually, stress can make it happen earlier to women. So I would say at this stage of your life, if you're over 40, I'm sure you're juggling so much. Take a break, take a breather, and reset. Just reset. And there are many ways to do that.
Absolutely. And give us a few ways in which you would do that.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, I was waiting for the first one. I was like, can I get too excited? So I'm sorry. I'll put my glasses because I have like some notes. And so I'll tell you the tips that I personally honestly started with. So because I'm a person who doesn't like to fit in a box, or I don't follow things to the teeth. I like to have a creative mind. I have a creative mind, and then I change things to make it fit me, right? So we have like millions of exercises and that you can do, but I know what I'm capable of. So first thing, I was like, okay, let me start with building habits, because I know I'm not the best in consistency. And to want to take care of yourself, you have to make a commitment. So remember the day that you married someone, which Elliot is going to be.
Yeah, very, very soon.
In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. So the day you commit to your wife to be, also make a day to commit to yourself. Any day. Wake up one day, and I'm sure so many women want to do this almost every day, want to commit to themselves. So start with the commitment. Commit that I will take care of myself, because honestly, nobody will take care of you if you don't do it for yourself until you're sick, and nobody wants that. Also, you don't want that. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to get to the point of getting sick. If things happen, I understand, but also physically, we lose a lot of muscle mass when we're past 40. So the older we get, we lose more muscle mass. So the earlier, the better. So if you're hearing me today, you're at 43, you're at 55, you're at 67, I don't know. But start today. You don't have to start extreme. So what I started to do is I got on my bike for 5 minutes every day. 5 minutes. And it will not change a thing, because a lot of scientists said you have to at least have 20 minutes to 30 minutes to have a good workout that will, be worth it. It will help with the blood flow and the muscles and all of that. But my idea was honestly to create the habit. And I had a calendar, and I started marking. You don't have to tell everybody, I'm working out, I'm going to the gym. Just do things quietly. Women like to overshare, which is great. But do things gradually. Take it easy. Don't put the responsibility of people are like, how's your workout? Are you still working out? Because that is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to make it your own thing. Make it your own thing and love it, because you're doing it for you. Once you have that energy, you'll understand. You'll feel better. And it's a cycle. So one step has to be put in. So building the habit, I would say, in building a habit, do it 3 times a week. A small thing. You can take a walk. You can get on a bike. You can get on a treadmill. Extremely, extremely small steps, which is something that we do in coaching. We never start a project big, ever. You have to break it down. And those pieces, also, you have to break it down into smaller pieces. That's how it works. To build consistency and to build the habit building, there's a science behind it, right? The brain has to be doing the same thing for a certain amount of time to become a habit, to become part of your subconscious. So you want that to be in your subconscious at some point. One thing, building the habit. I want to say to also every woman that make sure that you do your checkup annually. You need it. If you didn't do that previously, it's time to start now. Do once a year checkup. You'll know your blood work, and start working with your genetics, because also a lot of us ignore this. So if you look at me, I'm 102 pounds. I'm tiny, I'm small. I have a high cholesterol, really high cholesterol. And if I didn't do the checkup, and if I didn't follow up, I wouldn't know. And high cholesterol eventually is not a great thing. But it's not because of my eating habits, and it's not because of anything. It's genetics. And we tend to ignore genetics. also like one thing that will make you learn a little bit about where you come from or your body, where's your body coming from physically, the genetics or your DNA, is you have to do that at least once a year. Also, a lot of women are prone to breast cancer, and it's a devil that takes a lot of women away from us. My mom was diagnosed with it years ago. She's not with us anymore, but cheers. Also, thank you. Mammogram is a crucial thing at this point. You have to do your mammogram. Don't neglect it. Don't ignore it. And if you say, I don't have time, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If you have time to go on Facebook, you have time to make an appointment. If you have time to go on Instagram, TikTok, if you have time to do all the little things that we do, like just because we want to be entertained or we're bored, if you dedicate that time for yourself, or at least a fraction, oh my God, you will notice a huge, huge shift in your life.
And how has that impacted your parenting since starting to focus on yourself? Because I can imagine that it looks very different throughout the decade of maybe, well, you were a pretty young mum, right? So throughout the course of your 20s, 30s, and now your 40s as well. What has that been like? If your children noticed, I imagine obviously if considering they're older, they're a lot more aware and what's going on, the transition, you'd imagine.
So honestly, one of the reasons that I'm also doing this, obviously my house, it was my number one priority, but also being a role model for my kids. That is a huge thing we tend to ignore. So we tend to tell our kids what to do, but not do it ourselves. So that kind of loses some type of respect, honestly, not intentionally. Like your kid will not lose respect for you, but it becomes, how can I tell you to go work out if I don't do that? How can I tell you take care of yourself and take care of your body and hydrate? Well, yes, let's hydrate. Which I always tell my kids, I'm like, did you drink water? Did you drink water? I have one that loves water. I'm not worried about him. The other one, he doesn't like water. So that's the one that I remind. However, kids, no matter how old they are, I think when they look at their parents and they see that their parents is doing something well for their lives, first of all, it makes them happy, believe it or not. It makes them sincerely happy, seeing their mom happy. That's one thing. So, and then the second thing I would discuss, like my son will come in, my 14-year-old, he's a teenager now, and I'm trying to push him to take care of his physical health and wellness. And I always talk about these things. And I always talk about quality food too, which is something actually I have to go back to that for all women or men or anybody. Watch what we eat, especially here in the U.S. There's so many processed food. There's so many unhealthy options. The market is oversaturated with unhealthy options.
Yes.
So to dig that, it's work. To try to find the good options, the healthy, it's work, but it's doable. If you're used to a certain way of eating, it can be changed for you, for your kids. So since I started working out, I felt like it's impacting them in a positive way, where they're like more curious. I'd be like, oh, I did arms today. I did leg day. Today was my leg day. So it initiates conversation, especially that I have boys, so they would be interested in that. I don't know if I have girls, it would be the same thing, but they're definitely interested. And we share dumbbells. So I share dumbbells with them, I like to work out at home, again, because I'm making it work for me. So you don't have to go to the gym. If that's the thing, you don't have to go to the gym. You have a lot of free videos. If you want to work out, just see what's bothering you about your body and start there. If you want to lose weight, so do the cardio, lose the weight. You want to build the muscles, you do the resistance, you do. Again, this is all self-educating. Honestly, I'm just reading and I'm listening to podcasts like yours or some podcasts like other people talk about these things. And that's how you learn. You learn from other people and then you apply it. So I would say learn and apply slowly but surely.
Yeah, I love that. And just starting with those small steps and making it work for you. And I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people are like, well, I need this extensive gym membership. The gym membership's, on the other side of town. They never end up doing it. They feel guilty.
See, the brain finds a lot of excuses. If you let every thought comes to your mind, a fact, or even give it the time, oh my God, we will lose our mind. I mean, someone like me, I'm an overthinker. So if I give energy and time to every thought I get, I'm not gonna get out of the house, honestly. See, I lost my point that I was talking about.
No, it completely makes sense in the sense that, the mind will give you all the excuses in the world. Yeah, so it's better to just make things as frictionless as possible. That's what I always speak about. It's just, it doesn't have to be the most sophisticated thing in the world, but the better thing is the thing you can stick to. Like you said, your bike is far better than the beautiful Equinox.
I bought like resistant bands. It was like from Amazon, $15, and I'm using my own body weight on. Like there are so many ways to do it. If you can sign up with a personal coach or you can afford this, do it. That's why there are so many professions out there for support, for service. So we use these services. Instead of the meals where you're spending the money on the fast food, you can actually put that towards your health goal. So it's not a matter of money. It's not a matter of distances. It's not a matter of anything other than your mindset. At the end of the day, it's going to be your mindset.
Absolutely. Marwa, I'm curious to get your opinion on whether you believe, looking at millennials as they reach their 40s, and then thinking about Gen Z and your children right now who are going to reach their 40s, and then Gen Alpha, which I think is the next stage when they reach...
I'm scared of those.
When they reach their 40s. How do you feel in terms of when they approach 40, with being just very black and white? Do you think that they'll navigate these things better than millennials are doing? Do you think any generation has a better advantage? Because obviously the boomers the millennials had the example of the boomers, and now the Gen Z had the example of the millennials, and the Gen Alpha are going to have the example of the Gen Z. So do you think that there's progress coming based on the different ages that are going to start to approach that stage of their life?
There's definitely a pro and a con to every, there's two sides of the sword. So millennials, yes, they didn't have a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. So that's why I feel like millennials are all over the place. They're trying to figure out they're trying to figure out things now when they're in their 40s, which is okay, by the way. Like, I feel like there's no shame. You want to figure out your life at 40, you want to figure out your life at 50, 60, there's no shame. You don't want to figure out your life at all, that's fine also. Like, there's no judgment, there's no shame. But we're saying if you want to live a better life, if you want to live a healthier life, this is it. You need to work out, you need to move, you need to start doing something. Physically, we were not meant to sit. We were not created for sitting the whole day. So with the lifestyle that we have right now, when you sit 8 to 10 hours on a desk, when do you get physical? Like, when do you move? You don't. And then that brings what? Laziness. And laziness brings laziness. More like, it's just that deadly cycle. But it's just to go back to speak about millennials versus Gen Z versus Alpha. I think, and I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I like to watch and I like to have conversations with my kids and with a lot of children. I'm very, very curious. I think they're smarter. I think Gen Z are much smarter than us. The one thing that scares me a little bit is that I don't know if they lack the empathy or the showing of empathy. So I feel like we were taught, which are things that are very important to have a good society, a tight-knit society or community. There are certain ways to treat others and to treat people. So to maintain that level of connection between the community. So there's elders, there's youngers. These are things that we've learned. I think Gen Z, they don't see things that way. They're like, okay, I don't care. You're 60. If you're not smart, you're not smart. I don't think that. I'll tell you. I feel maybe we need like Gen Z I would like to have for them. They have a lot of compassion. So if I look around me, actually, they have a lot of compassion for world's problems. So
so true.
A lot of things that we were not able to speak up, or we didn't care. Not we're not able. We didn't care. We were like, oh, no, let's have fun. Let's party, 80s, 90s, and then, and then you get married and then you kind of isolate and focus on family. And then now we're back to society. It's just the whole thing and trying to figure out, we needed to learn about mental health and all of that. It's tied together. So I would say millennials, you need to get better for Gen Z because they are the future leaders, and you need to show them good example, honestly. How else would they learn, and why would we expect the next generation to be better in everything when we haven't really given them all the teaching that we should be giving them? Generation Alpha, I don't know. I feel like these kids are wild. They're so wild. They don't hold back at all. Which I enjoy. Also, I enjoy seeing this really young kids, and I have a niece who is 10, 11, almost 11, and wow, oh my God, I could never speak like that way. Very what's the word?
Eloquently, yeah.
Yes, eloquently, and the words that she uses, the vocabulary is so mature, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I feel like that's a lot of exposure maybe she wasn't ready for. So I feel like I look at my also 21-year-old and I see that he's exposed with the word politics right now, and he's hurt. He's hurt. He's starting to understand the world for what it is, and it's painful. But I go and tell him, baby, it's a mindset. There are so much ugliness in the world, but there's also good things in the world. Again, start with yourself. There are so many, and it's not news. Wars are not something new. Killings are not new. None of these things are new. Well, the environment right now is really scary. With all the heat waves that we're having, with all the earthquakes, and it's that is a big concern. But people fighting other people and being ugly and what that's been going on for years and years and years and generations. And I feel like this coming generation might have a better, more compassion to we don't need to fight. We don't need to. But the one thing that scares me is that individuality becomes the overall.
Yeah.
Individuality is good, and individuality, and not be part of a community. Then you can't build a society like that. That's
very hard to do
my
when you're
thought.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah. We need each other. We do. It's simple, and I hope the generations that are coming, we need to accept also each other. So yes, we understand that there's differences and stuff like that. But I think it's a human nature more than a generational thing, to be honest. We just tend to be judgmental.
Yeah, it's a whole nother podcast that.
Yes.
Because I'm just thinking of again, without going off too much of a tangent, I think that obviously there's the aspect of this generation growing up purely with screens as well. That's a big aspect that we didn't have to go through. So there maybe are some challenges of the communication aspect. They also lived through COVID as well in a certain era of their life, and maybe had the opportunity to become more okay with just being on their own. And then there's also this other aspect in terms of, the older generation might not be looking after themselves so much, and therefore they're not as aspirational as they used to look. And this is very, very deeply saddening. But at the same time, it's we used to respect the elders because they had all the wisdom, they had all the guidance. but now they're unhealthy and they can't really offer us this.
Love that you just pointed that. You're going to make me think so much about this point.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And like I said, it's a whole other conversation in itself, but I'm glad that we touched on that because I think it gives people a lot of like reflection points to go away with as well. But Marwa, this has been an amazing conversation. And I would love to ask you a couple of final questions. And the first one I have for you is, what impact do you want to have on the world with the work that you do?
So life coaching was the first, I want to say it's a very first step of the ladder that I want to take. Eventually, I want to be not an advocate, but I want to hold space and capacity for domestically abused women and children. This is really my and if I may say my end goal, if my retirement plan, this is where I want to be. I want to have that space. I'm not sure yet how it's going to look like, but I know the steps that I maybe have to take. And this is part of me coaching me. I'm like, okay, I know this is my vision and this is what I do with my clients. You have that vision and then you just start taking those steps. So hopefully, eventually, that would be the impact. I come from Egypt. I have seen a lot of domestic violence, and I was a survivor at some point of domestic violence. So creating a healthy environment for people, and there's so many, for women and children who have been abused is so crucial, because if you don't, I'm not sure what kind of society you expect. So my dream, and I feel, my dream is one day to have the space and have all these knowledge and pour it and support and uplift people who were women and children who were domestically abused.
I love that.
That's the
full end goal.
20 years from now,
I'm sure it's going to happen. Exactly. I'm going to be speaking with the 60-year-old Marwa.
Yes. Oh my God. 62.
62, in fact.
Yes.
Exactly. And where's the best place for people to find you if they want to keep up with that mission that you're on?
Absolutely. Yes.
You're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So I have my Instagram is Mindset Miracles. My website also is Mindset Miracles. And it's not, miracles is not spelled like miracle. It's spelled with my nickname, which my mom used to call me, Miro. So miracles.
Amazing.
And those other, I have my website. If anybody's interested in I offer free discovering calls, which is something that a conversation between 30 to 45 minutes that we have together to understand how a person needs help and support and guidance. And we take it from there. And these are free sessions that I offer for anybody. And it's on my website.
Amazing. We'll make sure those links are in the show notes below. But Marwa, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'll look forward to speaking.
I appreciate you too. And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to follow and see all the pictures on Instagram.
They're coming. Don't you worry. That's going to be abundance of them.
I am waiting.
Thank you.
Congrats to you and your beautiful wife.
Thank you.
You're welcome.